Cardinals started off 7-0 as they were looking like the best team in football, but it seems like everything went wrong after that. So what happened to the Arizona Cardinals?
They're trying to keep him corralled, but this is why he's so dangerous. Look how he stops here, sets his feet, boom!
Heading into year 3 of the Kyler and Cliff show in Arizona, there were high hopes considering the team picked up not just AJ Green, but James Conner and a beast in JJ Watt along with a bunch of other studs in free agency in order to bolster up an already solid unit. From top to bottom, it was just looking like the year for the Cardinals to go off, and especially a duo in Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Considering the fact that Nuck is one of the best players in the league, it was exciting to say the least to see what he would do in his second year with the Cardinals. Keep in mind that the offense was pretty loaded with guys like Chase Edmonds, James Conner, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, and Hopkins himself rounding out a pretty solid unit. On defense, guys like Chandler Jones, Budda Baker, and now JJ Watt added to a much improved Arizona team that was looking to take one of the toughest divisions in football. Going into Tennessee in week 1 seemed like a losing effort from the beginning, as the Titans were loaded with talent from top to bottom with guys like Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and now Julio Jones.
Sue is there as well. Murray will keep it himself, and he's into the end zone untouched.
Well, I guess it really didn't matter, as the Cardinals absolutely smacked Tennessee 38-13, and by doing so established themselves as one of the best teams in football. 6 straight wins after their debut in the Music City further proved that they were no joke, and in fact potentially the best team in the league, although a season-ending injury to JJ put a sour mark on the whole thing. Although they beat teams like LA and San Francisco, a Thursday night matchup in the desert against a dominant Packers unit was the test of this season. In a back-and-forth effort, the Cardinals were given a shot to make it 8 straight, and
high snap again. End zone and picked off!
One of the most heartbreaking plays in franchise history sealed a Green Bay victory as the Cardinals lost their first game of the season. Following the disappointing end to their perfect start, it was now up to Arizona to bounce back big time.
Pizza time.
Although they beat San Francisco the following week with their B team, the injuries were too much to stop Supercam as it got steamrolled 34-10. A pretty awful loss, but 2 straight wins against Seattle and Chicago put them back on the right track. Not only did they just get Kyler back, but also DeAndre from injury, and together they were looking tough to stop. Even though they were a great 1-2 punch, LA was just too much as they seemingly lost the game before it even started. They may have only taken an L by a touchdown, but from the very beginning they were in the backseat. A major reason as to why they never stood a chance was the fact that DeAndre wasn't 100% and was practically hobbling on the field. Well, either way it wasn't enough, and it would be the last football that my man would play the rest of the season. The loss to LA was bad, but not as awful as what happened in Detroit.
Play action, go! Fires! Caught! Touchdown! Tremendous!
From the get-go, the Cardinals just looked abysmal, and so it's no surprise that they got smacked 30-12 to lose their second straight game in a row for the first time of the year. There are losses, and there are games like this, and losing to a team like Detroit after what happened against LA seemed to be a precursor for what would happen next. Over the last 3 games of the regular season, the team went 1-2, with their one win coming off a wild play in Dallas. Although they were still able to make the playoffs, the confidence that they once had after going undefeated was seemingly gone, and so was arguably their best player in DeAndre Hopkins. A matchup against the on-fire LA Rams seemed like a disaster from the get-go, but honestly, it was worse than that.
Rams pressure is picked up. Kyler! Did he get rid of it? It's intercepted!
Their 34-11 loss doesn't tell the full story about just how bad the Cardinals played from top to bottom. The loss to Detroit was bad, but this was humiliating, and an awful way to end what seemed like to be a promising season early on. The loss to LA was so bad that there are now questions about Cliff's job security, considering he is under 500 after 3 years in the desert. Crazy how you can start off 7-0 and then be on the hot seat, but it just proves how much the team collapsed. Top to bottom, injuries, bad play, and a lack of drive led to an underwhelming end for what seemed to be a contender. Not only did my man Cliff just flounder, but Kyler was awful in LA, and just not on his A game throughout the end of the season, as the Cardinals as a whole limped to the playoffs. Like Cliff said, this league is about closing strong and building momentum into the playoffs, and unfortunately we didn't do that. It's a tough pill to swallow after such a rough loss, but important for a young team full of talent. Although they have a lot to work with, it seems like the fans aren't all that confident, with only 13% believing the team is heading in the right direction. It's a bit of a deflated number considering they just had one of the worst losses of the year. But nonetheless, I think it's an indicator that something just isn't right. Don't get me wrong, there's time to fix it. But as of right now, the Cardinals have a long way to go before they can be considered a threat once again. What do you guys think? Do the Cardinals have what it takes to bounce back? Or are they just screwed? The Cardinals were unbeatable early on, but after losing JJ Watt and Hopkins, they never looked the same, and now have many questioning their future.
We're all just disappointed that we don't play up to our potential.
Thanks for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below what stuff you want next. But anyway, see you all soon, and peace out.